Yeah, this brings us to the very last question of our webinar here, which is regarding improving your speaking ability and confidence, right? So Mariana wants to know, what do you think about people who know a lot of grammar, who have a lot of theoretical knowledge of the language, but do not really seem to use the language they're speaking, and as a consequence, they lack confidence in speaking the language. What can they do? What can those people do who are really proficient in the theory of a language can do to become fluent as fast as we can?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to stress once again the fact that knowing grammar or knowing a lot of things about grammar rules, and the culture, etc., doesn't make you a fluent speaker. So there are two different things. Um, the fastest way to speak and to become a comfortable speaker of a language might sound a little bit trite, but it's to speak. Now, as I said before, first of all, get your mindset right and find a person you want to talk to. If you think, for example, that going to the country is the best solution, think again, because if you spend some time in the country but you don't do it the right way, you might not learn as fast as you thought. When you speak with a lot of people, say 30 people a day, because you're in the country, so you have multiple activities you have to engage in, etc. The problem is that all these conversations tend to be superficial because you don't know that person. To me, quality is much better than quantity, meaning that instead of trying to interact with native speakers in, say, in supermarkets or in shops, which is important, obviously, I would say on top of that, just find yourself a language partner you can with whom you can have great and interesting conversations that revolve around your persona, and you can also ask him or her interesting questions. So first, find a language partner. Secondly, you can meet them face to face in a bar with a notebook, or use Skype, which is an amazing technology. And once you do that, in order to become a comfortable speaker, obviously you have to, well, one thing is that if you have a good environment, a positive vibe, so to say, if you get positive vibes from the person you're talking to, you're more than willing not only to talk, but also to share your feelings, etc. So first of all, find yourself a person you like talking to. Second, one of the piece of advice that I consider the most useful is to get out of your comfort zone. People consider language learning sometimes as a performance. So they're scared of making mistakes. They're scared of not being able to say a word. They are scared of pauses or
Right,
right. When people try to say that, and they find it embarrassing. And I would say try to get out of your comfort zone as soon as possible. And by that I mean try to say things you cannot say. Now, one might retort, if you don't know anything, or you just start with the language, you don't know how to use words, you don't know how to use expressions, etc. But you have a language partner giving you that. If you don't know how do you say that, you can simply ask, how do you say that? And that person turns into a live vocabulary that spouts immediately words and expressions. It also gives you examples of that. Then you can record and you can use later. So at the beginning, you might struggle, obviously, because you don't know words, but it goes extremely fast. After 3-4 sessions, you're already able to talk about simple things about your life that are interesting for you, and you can engage in conversations. And if you step out of your comfort zone all the time, you learn so much faster. So the idea that you're scared of etc., you have to consider the fact that each and every one of us does that. It's a natural process. You have to go through it. You have to struggle to learn, because the brain learns by struggling. Every time we struggle, every time we try to grasp for a word that we have at the back of our minds, there are neural networks that form or reinforce or get stronger because we're making an effort to remember them. At the beginning, it's difficult, obviously, as in every process, but it gets easier and easier the more you like it. So, to recap, find a language partner, find a person you like talking to, decide some interesting topics, and not only topics that are external to your person, but try to talk about yourself. My name is, I live here. Simple things at the beginning, and then you expand it. Like, hey, what did you learn Japanese? Oh, because I like the culture. I like manga. Oh, let's talk a little bit about manga. It doesn't matter how complex something is. It looks complex because you think, oh my God, I have to talk about manga. It's going to be complicated. But you can break it down into smaller chunks. Everything can be done in a difficult way, the difficult way or the easy way. And the easy way is to put one sentence after the other, very simple things. Think about, I want to convey this message, subject, verb, object, and then you try to say it. And by doing that, you learn extremely fast. I have a lot of students right now, and I adopted this technique, and it works fabulously with each and every one of them. So it's not about the ability of the single person. It's about the way to communicate and the way to approach communication that really makes things take off.